Hi, it's Red Recap speaking. Today I will be giving a rundown of the movie Place of Bones, which was released in 2024. Please note that there will be spoilers in my review. Without further ado, let's dive into the film. The movie is about a young man in search of his missing family member who uncovers dark secrets in a quiet town. The story explores themes of loss, mystery, and the struggle for justice. The film opens with a tombstone in a mostly barren desert. A girl named Hester places a rock on the stone and skips away to her home. There, she dumps rocks from a bucket onto the ground. Her mother, Pandora, tells her that's enough, using incorrect grammar. Hester responds that her father said they had to complete chores daily to survive. Upset by her mother's correction, she argues that no one else is present to hear her except her mom. Frustrated, she drops the bucket and storms into the house. In the background, we catch a glimpse of some people on horseback. Hester inquires if they'll ever have cattle again, to which Pandora replies that it's uncertain. When they hear gunfire nearby, Pandora instructs Hester to fetch a knife from the smokehouse. While Hester complies, Pandora retrieves a revolver. As night falls, it's clear no one has come to threaten them. Concerned, Hester asks her mother if she believes certain individuals will show up. Pandora explains that it's God's choice, not hers, and tells Hester to dim the lamps. Inside, Hester says a prayer while Pandora does the same. The next morning, we see that Pandora kept watch all night. Hester expresses her desire to visit her father. On her way, she discovers an unconscious injured man. Alarmed, she calls for her mother. Pandora quickly comes with the revolver, and upon seeing the injured man, she instructs Hester to help bring him inside. They grab his arms and start dragging him into the house. Again, we briefly glimpse the people on horseback. Once inside, Pandora observes that the man has lost a lot of blood and has a gunshot wound in his leg, which has fractured the bone. She then tells Hester to heat a knife on the stove while she secures the man's weapon. She instructs Hester to sit on his chest. Then she grabs the man's injured leg, causing him to stir awake, though he's only half aware. She presses a heated blade against his wound, and he slips into unconsciousness. Observing him, Hester thinks he might be unlike the others. In the next scene, Pandora steps outside to inspect the stranger's saddlebags. She discovers a substantial amount of money inside. Hoisting the bags over her shoulder, she heads to her husband's gravestone, kneeling to inform him that there's a man in their home, something she vowed never to do. However, she feels compelled to bring him in. Pandora has questions for the man as their safety hinges on his answers. The presence of so much cash suggests that people will be searching for him. She asserts her duty to protect their home and daughter, just as her husband would if he were still alive. Hester calls out to her, saying the stranger has woken up. Upon entering, the man introduces himself as Tin Calhoun and expresses gratitude to Hester for helping him. Pandora informs him that his leg is broken. He notices the beautiful stained glass window and is astonished by its craftsmanship, claiming he's never seen anything like it before. Pandora mentions that she peeked inside his saddlebags, but insists she has no interest in the money. Austin finds this hard to believe. If she isn't interested, he challenges her to give him the bags. Making this demand while receiving her care, she throws the bags at him, causing him pain from the weight on his injuries. He begins to explain that he and a friend faced tough times and became desperate. He vaguely implies they decided to make a withdrawal from the bank, and Pandora clarifies that he means they stole the money. Hester feels disturbed upon hearing this. She expresses that stealing is wrong, while he discloses that his friend was shot, leading to his downfall. Austin admits to killing 3 men, but insists they left him with no other options. When Pandora labels him as wicked, he responds by saying he believes God abandoned him long ago. Later, Hester brings him food, and despite being in his situation where any food should suffice, he complains about the corn mush, claiming even pigs wouldn't eat it. Curious, the girl asks if he killed those men, and he affirms he did. He then pulls out $20 from his bag, saying it should provide enough supplies to last through the winter, later increasing it to $40 for the spring. However, Pandora refuses to accept his tainted money, angering him. She warns that if he threatens her again, he'll be kicked out. In retaliation, he brandishes a gun at her, threatening to shoot if she doesn't comply. He wants to acquire a horse, but they have none, and discovers that the closest town is 95 miles west, noting their neighbors have long since departed. When she asks if he thinks she'd leave a loaded gun in his saddlebag, she takes it from him. In the next scene, the women watch as Austin suffers in his sleep. When he wakes, Pandora knocks him back out for an unknown reason. When he regains consciousness, he screams in agony upon realizing his leg has been amputated. He threatens Pandora for what she did, but she tells him it was necessary due to gangrene. The legless man believes she acted out of malice. Outside, Hester asks her mother if her late father was sometimes angry like Austin, and while Pandora acknowledges he could be stubborn, she respected his principles. Hester and her mother both miss him dearly. They consistently hear Austin's complaints about his painful condition. Hester, unable to cope with his suffering any longer, goes into the house to show him a book that reveals the mortality rate is 46% for those who have a leg amputated, particularly in a hospital setting. Her argument is that since he is still alive, her mother did a good job caring for him. However, Austin retorts that this isn't truly living. When Pandora enters, she presents him with a deal. She'll go into town to get what he needs, but in return, she wants him to tell the truth. He reluctant to share, claiming he doesn't often deal in truths, prompting her to press for the information. Soon she discovers that he stole money from a bank with some accomplices. At a stop, he knew they all shared the same thought about the bags of cash, which led to a gunfight with Austin coming out on top. One of the deceased had a brother named Bear John, who, if he learns the truth about his brother's death, would likely seek vengeance. Pandora then finds out that Bear John is aware of the robbery and knows the direction Austin came from. Upset, she scolds him for not warning her. As he describes the other three men who are allies with Bear John, we see these individuals elsewhere, none as malevolent as Bear John, according to Austin. Scene shifts to Bear John and his gang. One member, Wilson, inquires how long they will wait for Bear John's brother Bob, who is accompanied by two women. Bear John asserts that if Bob doesn't arrive by tomorrow, they will start searching for him. Wilson speculates that Bob might be dead, but Bear John insists that Bob is too clever for that. Wilson counters, arguing Bob is foolish for associating with Austin, to which Bear John concedes is a valid point. When Pete begins to play his guitar, Wilson expresses that he's feeling romantic and invites one of the women to walk with him. However, another man tells her to stay where she is, asserting that the women are under his protection. He warns Wilson that she won't go anywhere unless he receives payment. After some tense exchanges, Wilson shoots the man, leading the women to flee in panic. He pursues them, shifting to Pandora, who is informed by Austin that she could escape with her daughter, but she declines, insisting on remaining near her husband's grave. In the following scene, she examines the bullets and revolvers on the table, telling Austin that if he wasn't skilled with a gun, she'd shoot him like a dog. She's pleased that he acknowledges her need for his assistance with what's ahead, though he insists they need rifles. He explains that the pistols are only for when the gang is at the door, and they don't want the trouble that close. Therefore, Hester goes to fetch her father's rifle, returning to show Austin, who quickly realizes it's broken. While everyone sleeps, Hester sneaks out of bed to leave the house, traveling away from the ranch for an unspecified reason. Meanwhile, we see Bear John riding with his gang, passing by the women chased by Wilson, who are now lying low at the house. Pandora wakes up to find her daughter missing and calls out for her outside, but when there's no reply, she returns to tell Austin she holds him accountable for Hester's safety, threatening to take revenge on the thief if the girl doesn't come back. Switching back to Hester, she wanders until she finds a dead man with a rifle beside him, which she takes. She also spots two other lifeless bodies, allowing her to grab a second rifle. These men are part of the group Austin shot to keep the money, and surprisingly, one of them is still alive. He seizes Hester's leg, hoping for her assistance, but instead, she strikes him with a rock, leading to his end. She then seeks God's forgiveness for her actions. Next, we see Pandora preparing meat, bringing joy to her guests. She wishes to share it, knowing they'll need energy for the challenges ahead. Upon tasting it, he declares it the best meat he's ever had, suggesting they should grow closer if they survive. She offers him her leftover meat and he expresses his gratitude. Meanwhile, a woman stands outside, tearfully calling her daughter foolish. Hester struggles to make her way home, carrying two rifles, and apologizes to her mother after stumbling. Meanwhile, Bear John and his gang discover the bodies Hester found earlier. Bear John realizes his brother is truly dead, prompting him to exclaim that this is not fair. He criticizes Bob Dumb for dying like this and covers his face with his hat. They find out that the rifles are missing. Jack mentions someone took a bullet before crawling away, and Wilson suspects it must have been Austin. Bedjan wonders why Austin would take the rifles if he was that badly injured. Jack shares his theory, using his sharp perception to deduce that Austin shot Bob, who then shot back. He notes that two of the men died days ago, while one died earlier that day. Jack is aware that the man was struck with a rock. Pete tries to remove the boots from one of the dead, but Bear John fires his gun to scare him off. This scene can be heard by everyone. Austin inquires of Pandora about her choice to live in such an isolated area. He mentions that Hester should be attending school, to which Pandora responds that the world is a terrible place. She and her husband created this ranch to escape society. She hands him a pitchfork to use as a support. She recounts that a man similar to Austin once came to their ranch, sent by Pandora's father to bring her back home. Her dad disapproved of both the ranch and her husband, feeling entitled to control her. On her last day there, Pandora's husband stepped in, leading to the hired man taking his life in front of his family. In retaliation, she killed the man for what he had done. In the next scene, Bear John's gang is trailing Austin. Jack makes a detour after noticing something the others miss. As the leader approaches, Jack mentions finding a second trail, suspecting someone was on foot with rifles. He estimates the person is only a few hundred yards away, prompting Bear John to direct him to follow this new path so they can intercept him at the house. Pandora hands Austin his revolver, but keeps the ammunition until it's really needed. Meanwhile, Hester is fleeing from Jack. Luckily, she makes it to the barn and locks herself inside, but he breaks in, alerting Pandora. She finally gives Austin his ammo. Jack sits on Hester, threatening to cut her if she screams. In a moment of stealth, she discreetly pulls a knife from her shoe to stab him, then grabs a rifle to shoot him. The man shoots at her, and the gunshots are heard by everyone. For Jack, the situation isn't deadly, but for Hester, it remains uncertain. Pandora shouts for her daughter and rushes out of the house to shoot at Jack, leading to a gunfight. Bear John instructs Pete to find out what's happening. Jack tells Pandora that the girl is dead. This news makes Atten yell, asserting that even Jack wouldn't stoop so low as to cause a young girl's death. Jack admits he killed her, prompting Pandora to point her gun at Austin, blaming him for her daughter's death. She demands he eliminate the intruders or she will take him down herself. Pete returns to Bear John and Wilson to report on the situation. Bear John orders Austin to throw out the money. If he complies, Bear John claims they will leave, but Austin wisely doubts these words. When Bear John learns of Pandora's arrival, he calls out for her, promising they won't harm her. She asks if they will truly leave if she throws the money out. Bear John vows he will honor that promise. Pandora retrieves the money from the saddlebags and, along with other items, throws the bags outside. This prompts Bear John to tell Jack to gather them. Jack refuses to go out, which leads Bear John to fire a warning shot nearby to intimidate him. After firing another shot even closer, Jack reluctantly begins to limp toward the saddlebags. As Jack carries the bags, JN shouts at him to make sure the money is inside. Jack checks and finds a doll instead of cash. This prompts Pandora to instruct him to drop his gun far from himself. Jack complies, and Pandora insists they will receive the money if they surrender their weapons. Suddenly, Hester shoots at Jack, hitting him again, which fatally wounds him. Jack's partners retaliate with gunfire towards the house. Pandora manages to injure Pete, who asks for help, but he receives a fatal shot instead. The chaos continues at night as the homeowner climbs out of a window to rescue her daughter from the barn. As she makes her way, the two remaining criminals also move through. Pandora enters the barn, embracing Hester just as the ruthless cowboys arrive. When the lady leaves, Hester dashes into the house, while her mother hides in a shed. Unfortunately, this does not shield her from Bear John, who barges in and knocks her down. Wilson tries to break a window near Austin, but is shot for his efforts. Bear John, holding Pandora, enters the home and shoots Austin since the latter is out of bullets. Had it been loaded, he would have targeted the leader first. The villain lets go of Pandora and kicks her twice, then demands to know where the money is while sitting on the bed. He tells Hester to come to him. Once she does, he crudely asks if she has ever been with a man, to which she replies it was only her father. He then vulgarizes the question about intimacy, but she doesn't understand. Trying to defend herself, Hester lunges at him with a knife, but he quickly stops her. Next, Pandora captures his attention by standing and holding cash above a blazing furnace, urging Hester to join her just before tossing a stack of money into the flames. Bear John, filled with worry, threatens to kill both Pandora and himself if the money is destroyed. Pandora, taking a risk, throws more money into the fire. John promises to leave if she gives him the money, but she doesn't trust him. She starts throwing all the money into the fire, and he's about to shoot her. Luckily, Austin intervenes and kills John with a pitchfork. Pandora expresses her thanks to Austin for saving them and offers him anything he wants. Knowing he's dying, all he asks for is a proper burial with his leg. However, they Earlier that day, Pandora thanks him for providing them with more food than they've ever had, ensuring their survival through the spring. Hester also thanks him before killing him. Pandora thanks God for their situation. Later, she's seen cutting meat and gives her daughter a bag, telling her to keep Austin's remains separate out of respect. Hester buries the remains while singing. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thanks, and see you again soon. Take care.